If you haven't heard yet about the Gullah Geechee and the Maroon communities, then just like myself, you have been deprived of a fascinating piece of American history, which they did not teach us in American schools. The Maroons were enslaved Africans who escaped these plantations in these harsh conditions and their enslavers and fled to the Great Dismal Swamp, where they survived and thrived for generations. I just want to emphasize how brilliant these Maroon communities and the Gullah Geechee were, because the Great Dismal Swamp and the wetlands and the marshes are not easy places to navigate by any means. The conditions of these swamps were so brutal, and yet the Maroons learned the rhythm of the swamp and they mastered it. We're talking thick mud, dense trees, insects, snakes, floods overnight. They created hidden paths for themselves. They knew where to hide, when to plant, and how to survive together. And they did all of this while retaining their African culture. So they hung on to their mother tongue, which I think were West and Central African languages. And the amazing part is that these Maroon communities were largely untouched because these slave patrols were so terrified of the Maroons, because they'd never seen that level of defiance and resistance coming from an enslaved peoples before. And on top of that, these slave patrols who did think that they could go into these Great Dismal Swamps and survive were largely mistaken, because people would go in and they wouldn't come out. Their horses would get stuck and they would simply die in these Great Dismal Swamps because they had no idea how to navigate or survive them. And another piece of information regarding the Maroon communities, which should be noted, is that within these Maroon communities were a lot of Native Americans too. So these liberated enslaved Africans and liberated Native Americans navigated and survived the Great Dismal Swamp together. So it's just an amazing piece of history that I feel I've been deprived of. And if you come from a Maroon descendant or you're a Gullah Geechee, please comment and educate us. Something I just recently learned, so I'm sure I don't know even the tip of the iceberg, as they say. So please comment, educate us.